showtime. Dynamite Download. Welcome to Dynamite Download, your source for positive coverage of all elite wrestling.
This is what pro wrestling's supposed to feel like.
Oh, you guys, positive energy.
I think that created a little moment in itself.
You're saying I have a better record than Kenny Omega and Samoa Joe, and now I'm going to have to wrestle them.
I've never seen someone able to break down like wrestling like he does.
Mariah May, boom.
My real story does connect with a lot of people.
That you need to be careful in the locker room.
I definitely think that women's wrestling has been elevated.
And with the loss of Brody, I feel like we were just kind of a little bit directionless.
I was like deep diving into like cults.
Raw force.
Raw force?
Oh my god!
Amazing.
I had to smack him around a few times to fully gain his respect.
You said that in front of the voice of a generation?
Awesome.
This podcast is, quite frankly, the drizzling shit, if I'm being quite honest.
They spread positivity about AEW.
Welcome to Dynamite Download.
All right. Hey, Dynamite Download Nation Galaxy Familia. Welcome to 180. And we are flipping a 180 here.
There we go. That's right. Happy Thursday, y'all.
Happy Thursday. Coming up.
Just made it in showtime. It was a long, long day of work. And now I'm here, about 13-hour day, and ready to roll. And just down some tacos, and I'm sweating. So if you see some beads sweating down my forehead, because this hot sauce is inferno hot. So, whew. But you know what's inferno hot? AEW right now. And I'm loving all the trolls online crying and complaining about the Death Riders and Moxley. It's all I see is all these tears. And I'm like, this stuff, surprisingly, even though I'm a babyface, I'm loving what the Death Riders are doing. I think it's so smart and so great. And, I must say, this is the first time it's ever happened. My bingo card was 100% perfect. I was a solid, I think it was 9 for 9 or 10 for 10 or even more than that. I forget it was, but every match SPD got correct on that one. And I was happy with the results. I mean, because I went with also my heart and my booking mind on that. But this was a pretty impactful last four or 5 days in AEW. So I was really excited the direction that they're going right now, leading into All In, baby. And also Double or Nothing before that.
Yes, Double or Nothing. And I felt like the pay-per-view lived up to the hype that was developing. I mean, obviously I wouldn't call it the best pay-per-view that AEW's ever had, but I will say that every match I felt like was compelling. Everything, there was a lot going on. I had some, of course, almost all of the matches were compelling. There was one that the Crickets enjoyed, but I digress. It's everybody has their taste. There's people that don't like Orange Cassidy. So what am I gonna say? A taste. But Dynasty was great. I thought Dynamite was very, very good. It's weird too, because I really do feel like there's almost like it's a trend now to try to nitpick and like bash AEW, and AEW's crushing it. And I feel like I really do feel like we're heading towards some kind of blood and guts kind of thing. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but yeah, the Death Riders thing there. If you don't like the Death Riders, that's the point. That's kind of the point. They're the heels. They're the ones you want them to get taken out. And I feel like we're starting to really see some alliances we're going to talk about a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that Dynasty, just to kind of touch base a little bit on that right now, look at this card. I mean, first off, I love the Dynasty purple graphics and the purple and gold. It's really cool, all that. But looking at this card, I wasn't nearly as excited as the Revolution card. However, as this pay-per-view progressed, I was like, dang, this is awesome. This has been great. This has been great. This has been great. And obviously we saw a lot of shocking things. I expected more shocking things at like Revolution, but we just had just awesome matches and kind of like books closing, chapters closing, and so forth. So This was like, oh man, I'm super pumped for Dynamite to see what the heck happened, and Dynamite definitely delivered with a lot of that. They did get to touch base a little bit on the Dynasty, but I love the way Dynamite kicked off. In typical fashion, I did expect that triple threat to steal the show, and it definitely delivered on every element that I expected in, and then some. I love that match.
Yeah.
The Briscoe and Fletcher match, excuse me, was way more brutal than I expected. It was a physical battle back and forth. The storyline with the Bandito stuff, I did, the gimmick with the bat. I thought it was awesome to restart the match, get the crowd put back in.
Yeah.
And, what really surprised me, and we can kind of segue to that a little bit, what for Dynamite was the Death Riders firing on all cylinders in terms of the trios Death Riders is a lot of fun. And it showcased like why they're the trios champs. I was like, if we had these Death Riders continuing week in and week out, or just defending those titles like more frequently the way they defended them against Rated FTR, they would have really put that trios championship division on the map, in my opinion. I don't know. I just felt like they had the belt, have had some good matches, but they haven't really dominated their matches or dominated the trios divisions. And they showed against Rated FTR that they could dominate the trios division. So I was like, kind of looking at that, like bummed. I'm like, man, what could have happened with their reign could have been so much better. But I loved that match as well. But top to bottom, this was a really strong card. Like, what moments stood out to you?
Well, yeah, I mean, and just to your point about the trios, that's something that the tag team and trios division needs more representation, needs more frequent matches. I do feel like we got that. Hopefully, we're going to talk a little bit later about Pac's situation,
right?
But having more frequent defenses of the trios titles, I think is and developing some clear trios out there, like the Ops. I really feel like they've, and we're going to talk more about the Ops, but the way that they've introduced the Ops as a clear trio, and now it looks like they're going to be the ones gunning for the trios titles. I thought that was great. But to say my favorite performance of the night, so I can sum it up in poetry. There once was a Death Rider from Nantucket. Well, I'll tell you what. This is family friendly, so I won't continue that poem, that limerick. But Toni Storm was not only was Toni Storm tremendous against Megan Bayne. I thought, and I felt like her, as she calls it, her big package, not small package.
Right.
How she defeated Megan Bayne, but still Megan Bayne still looked like the powerhouse that she was. I felt like they handled that whole match great. I love that she came out dressed as Rocky. Of course, this is in Philly. She's dressed as Rocky. Luther was dressed as Mickey from the movie. And then at the press, you got to go see the press conference, the scrum. Toni Storm, it's not for innocent ears, but Toni Storm crushed the whole thing from start to finish. And one of the questions was, tell us about your Rocky themed attire. And she goes, Rocky? What do you mean? What's Rocky? Like she had no clue. It was fantastic. Obviously my favorite match of the whole night though was the trio. It was the Ricochet Speedball Kenny. People are saying it was going too long, but that's like, plugging in my veins. I mean, that's like watching
not long enough.
I mean, they could have had the whole pay-per-view be that one match and I would have been fine with that. A lot of cool stuff. I thought a lot of things were great. I'm interested to see what Bowens is going to do as he kind of closed the chapter on Max Caster as the surprise open challenge. And
he's got a match on Collision coming up.
Yep.
And he posted just recently on his Twitter a picture of the TNT title.
I like that. I like that idea.
On something.
Anthony Bowens. I'm okay. You know what? I actually think an Anthony Bowens versus Adam Cole.
Yeah, I want to see
that's how invested I am in Adam Cole right now. But at Adam Cole versus I think Adam Cole needs to go heel. I think he'd be more compelling.
Yeah.
as a heel, and I could see him and Bowens going at it. But overall, I love Dynasty. I know that some people didn't like the ending. I would have loved Swerve to win, but I understand that maybe we got to parlay that. I want Swerve to be the one to. Swerve needs the championship again, but I think we're gonna talk about. We're gonna talk a little bit about what may be in store for the Death Riders. It sounds like there might be a coalition that has never been an unlikely coalition that has never been assembled before. Names that you never thought would be joining forces might be joining forces to stop the Death Riders. But one thing that is hard to stop right now is the leader on the leaderboard. You know, perhaps Steven can catch you real quickly, but there's been some surprises and movement on the leaderboard for our draft. So without further ado, let's bring the boom.
We bring the boom. That's what we do. We bring the boom. We bring the boom to you. We bring the boom. We bring the boom to everyone. We bring the boom. Your favorite father and son.
Every afternoon on your FYP.
We'll be bringing the boom around 3:15.
We bring the boom so loud the whole earth shakes.
With double chunk chocolate cookies
and chicken bakes.
And
now that we're on the, I guess maybe whoever's at the top of the pack should be able to pick maybe the intro theme song of the draft. I was gonna say, now that we're on the road to Double or Nothing, the final stop of this draft, maybe we bring back your chip thing as well.
Okay,
your chip intro. But woo, that is how important this bingo card is, because without that, I'd be tied with Steven. That +3 perfect card that I had would be tied with Steven. You know, unfortunately, you know, I have a lead right now, but it's going to start getting plucked slowly but surely, because Copeland is out for this foreseeable future, and Jericho's gone for the foreseeable future. Technically, I mean, people were showing that as tour dates and all that. But yeah, FTD is on the left side, creeping all the way back from dead last over to, it's like Donkey Kong, over to the left side bracket, knocking off her significant other Myndrunner to the right side bracket. I mean, slow and steady, like nipping away. But I'm actually a little bit nervous because of the lack of wrestlers that are pretty much confirmed out for a little bit. So we'll see. Anything happens. I'm excited. I'll bask in this glory for now, though.
Bask in the glory. Sorry, not sorry. It's okay, Full Tilt Deb. I'm not mad. Not at all. But Deb had a triple pointer last night. Moxley, Swerve, and Speedball Mike Bailey all got her 3 points last night, jumping ahead. But you're at 41 and Brent's at 19. But if you really look at it, this has been the most parity that we've had in this draft. I mean, it's been very, very like you look at between Cray and Bobby, it's like 1 or 2 points between each person, you know, like and any given week can completely change that. Plus we do have the Double or Nothing itself coming up with that. So anything can happen. Collision's gonna earn a bunch of people some points, so I'm excited about it. And a lot of these like 4-way matches are great because like if Team Ricochet won, I would have had 2 points just because of Ricochet and Beast Mortos.
Right.
So it all these things could go either way. I'm excited. This has been a lot of fun. I want to win. You know, I definitely want to win the whole thing, but I'm having a lot of fun just each week trying to see. It makes it much more interesting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And last night's show, we'll dive into that because I was just, I was kind of marking out a little bit because I turned it on, and obviously the opening match wasn't necessarily like the best match of the show, but I told you, like at the top of the show, I am invested in the Death Rider stuff, and I have been for a while, and I've been holding on hope for more from them. However, like I'm still loving what they're doing. Maybe unpopular opinion for some of the wrestling fans, but the way Mox controls every week is what you need out of the world champion, and a world champion that's, as we like to say, holding the title hostage per se.
Yeah.
So starting with, I mean, his promo backstage, all of his promos have been really eerie and kind of mixed messages in a sense, as well as warnings that he's been thrown out there. So I love that he's been featured all throughout the shows every single week, week in and week out. He is the MVP of AEW right now. He is the backbone. I mean, he's number one target as well. And that's exactly what you need out of any promotion on any type of thing. You need someone chased to get it chased. But the way this started, this match, like, I was happy with it. But I mean, the true story is just like what happened afterwards. Before I talk about that, do you have anything you want to add about the match itself with the wrestler Shibata versus Mox before we talk about everything that happened afterwards?
Well, a couple things. One, I got a little bit comfortable in the pants, thinking that this might lead to a Samoa Joe Moxley match at some point, because, and I think that, we actually may get that in a different form than we thought, based on another or something that happened later that night. I thought it was interesting. Again, this kind of shows how versatile Mox is. John Moxley, he's even admitted he's kind of like Minoru Suzuki, is that he can't really do a whole lot of different moves, but he can take on a whole lot of different styles. He can adapt to a grappler like Shibata, a high flyer like Ospreay. He can adapt to a lot of these different guys and still make it very compelling. I thought this was great. I thought it was very interesting how he would poke people in the eye, bite, and this is that desperate savage Moxley that that's always been there.
Right.
We're starting to really get to see. We're really starting to get to see the like, I guess, the bitter, disenfranchised war veteran who he's given his life and soul to the company. Mm-hmm. And the company doesn't appreciate him. And so now he's kind of he's fighting for what he believes in. And now that he's had success, the corporate goons have come back and they want to, they're all saying, yeah, let's hear it for Moxley. Yes, he's our hero. They're trying to steal what he's trying to do, and he hates that. So I think it's very compelling. The match itself, Shibata, people are complaining, why would you do that to Shibata? But it's Moxley, I mean, he got a match with Moxley, and AEW doesn't, rarely, I will say rarely, it's rare that AEW has two superstars and makes the losing superstar look bad.
Mm-hmm.
And like just about every match where as long as something doesn't go wrong, it's rarely a squash, and unless it's or if it's a stooge gimmick like Max Caster, it's rarely a squash. And I thought Shibata looked good, and later Shibata got his revenge, as we'll talk about. But I thought the match was great, and the very smooth transition from this match to the next match and how everything went down in between, I thought was very compelling TV.
Yeah, I don't think it was a squash, because like, even if it was a quick work, but it had to set the stage for what we got afterwards. Like,
yep.
I was like, I'm so happy the Young Bucks are back. Like, they are just so important to AEW. Obviously, they're the grandfathers, or what do they call the founding fathers?
Founding fathers
back in AEW, and they were dearly, dearly missed. And I'm so glad they're back and inserting them really into the Lions Den. In all the levels, we don't know how they're going to react with the Death Riders. Still, that's kind of being tossed around, and then obviously some unfinished business with Kenny Omega, who came out to confront them. I was just like popping. It was like, oh, Young Bucks music, boom. Kenny's music, boom. Okada's music, boom. Then Swerve's out. It's like name after name after name after name. Even if it may be, people might say it's overbooked, I was loving every second of it. And then so this just gets like the wheels turning of like, oh, they're going to fight. Oh, they're going to team up. They're going to do this. Like, the mutual respect that Omega and Swerve had for each other. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know how many times they've shared the ring together, whether it be versus each other or at all. So it's almost like Kenny, in a sense, he's not passing the torch, but almost like the fist
Sharing-
pound is like, you're one of us now. Like, you're one of like the top guys in AEW for sure. Like, they started it. So I'm really compelled to see where this goes every single week leading into Double or Nothing and All In. Like, obviously, dreams would be the Bucks versus Hangman and Swerve. You could even throw Kenny and Swerve versus the Bucks for the time being, but obviously the big payoff would be Okada and Kenny ultimately. But if you just kind of, or a 3-on-3, like you mentioned, 3-on-3, Hangman and Kenny, former tag team champs, with Swerve against the Elite, and that would just be insane as well. So the possibility of all these top guys, all of them back and kind of front and center, is very, very intriguing to me.
Yeah.
However, there's that other flip coin, like the wild card. There's a lot of different things. Anyone could be the wild card in the tournament. The wild card also in this wrench is Jack Perry, who's been MIA. The other wild card is, where do the Death Riders land? There was no true alliance made. There's no true handshake made. Obviously they have similar enemies in a sense, but is an enemy of my enemy my friend, or are they gonna try to go against the Death Riders, stay out of their business? So a lot of stuff, what makes so compelling is like just like fantasy booking and just the what ifs.
Yep. And there's so many good what ifs. I do have a question for Okada though. Okada, why such a big suit? That's an inside joke. Full Tilt Deb will get that one. A little throwback there. Talking Heads reference. But yeah, there's so many different ways to go. And Steven's actually very right. We had this flowed into the Pac and Swerve match where and unfortunately that became kind of a quick match because apparently at the Buckle Bomb, it wasn't the Buckle Bomb itself that injured Pac, but I guess he came down flooding on his ankle. You could hear him screaming. And so they got the medical guy to talk to him. They did a quick pin.
You're professional finishing the match.
Exactly. That's what kind of Pac could be lose a leg and he'd hobble in. Pac would be the first to enter an ass kicking contest with one leg. He would be that kind of person. Now, the initial, according to Alvarez, he said on Wrestling Observer that officially it's not expected to be a big injury. Like, he's not expected to be out long. However, he's going in for an MRI tomorrow, and that's going to really determine what's going on. So we'll probably find out either tomorrow or sometime tomorrow what the status is. But we're hoping,
yeah,
and hopefully it's not his massive issue from WWE. We're hoping he's better. But in the meantime, how this affects the Death Riders, does Moxley take over for Pac as the third in the trios, or do they bring in a surprise replacement, a Jack Perry or a Josh Alexander, or somebody else, some surprise return or debut as a new Death Rider,
or Marina Shafir,
Shafir.
Hey, so I don't mind that at all. Like, I don't know if they're going to do an injury angle where like Swerve's in the back and he takes out his his leg, and kind of like the Jay White thing. Oh, Death Riders attacked me, blah blah blah. But I don't mind it as a fan if they do substitute Mox as the trios, because it's within the group. Like, we've talked about this before. Like, if a tag team titles are within like the Bullet Club Gold, like any two guys can defend it in a sense. Like, how do you feel about that? I don't know. Would they have to or would people defend it, odd man 2 versus 3 because they're down a body, or are they going to do an injury angle where they do need a substitution for a third guy because they injured him? But I'm happy that, as I predicted, the Ops are going to be the next trios champs. I definitely think that's going to happen. I really was excited back to the Dynasty card when I saw them come out at the end of the show to attack them. I'm like, yes, this is it. This was the Blood and Guts team that I predicted. The Ops, Hangman, and Swerve. And so either way, I think they're going to have to address it next week or sooner than later about that, because the line in the sand is drawn. Samoa Joe is spitting some fire, saying some pretty inappropriate stuff to the Death Riders. They're on the mic and calling it. And I would love to see Joe versus Mox for the title, because obviously former champ versus former champ, just to continue to grow Moxley's list of top guys he's taken out, because he has taken out some big names in AEW. I don't think that people have really given him enough credit for who he's battled in AEW. And right into this, like continuing the Ops Death Riders themes, Yuta and Claudio versus Joe and Hook. Loved the pairing of this one, and it just really reminded me how much I miss Samoa Joe. And honestly, I really do like this side of Hook. He's in the team aspect, like him able to pair up and do these moves with Joe in his corner. I like that element. He was fine as a wrestler, but I feel like it's working much better right now, where he's not the spotlight, like a little less pressure. Like he's been able to handle the pressure with the FTW championship and do all that stuff, but I feel like a little less pressure right now, and have him as a nice mentor. And Joe always has got to be a leader of the pack, because he's just a powerhouse in himself, amongst himself. So this worked good. I don't know if you caught that clip of right before Hook got that on the chair, he threw up in the ring.
I didn't catch that. I missed it. He did.
Right before he got that bomb by Claudio, a big barf pile down there in the ring.
But I think I see it now too. Oh man, I've always thought it'd be interesting to have a little tiny pouch of cream of mushroom soup or something, and then how people have blood spots.
Yeah.
What if somebody punches you and you just go whoa like that? That'd be interesting. I think the best thing to happen to Hook, the best thing to happen to Hook was him winning the FTW title, and then the second best thing to happen to him was him retiring it, because I think it really gave him legitimacy having it, but now it was starting to hold him down, and now pairing him with putting Shibata and Hook with Joe, letting Joe be the kind of the guy on the mic is doing wonders for all three. Yeah, and I really feel like that this is, and Joe is going to kill you. I mean, and you could see Shibata got his thing on Mox there. The Ops present themselves as a legit threat to the Death Riders, and I'm here for it. So I
want the Ops, because the Ops to me, it sounds like military, obviously, like operations. I want them to almost have like a intro to their theme song, almost like a field gimmick,
like the A-Team.
Like
in 2025, in 2025, three men were brought together to form trios, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the Ops. Dun, 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 dun,
I would love that.
Well, I think we just got ourselves a super sticker. Thank you, BR. It's time for a super chat party. Got to go with the Thunder Roast Super Chat Party. Boom!
I don't have my Young Bucks kicks on right now. They're back at home. Thank you, BR. Appreciate it, man. Super chat party, super sticker. Now, well, I mean, you mentioned Thunder's name, so why don't we talk about the women's match of the night, which we had Thunder versus Statlander in the Owen Hart tournament. First round, honestly, could have been a finals match.
Yeah,
not the way I expected it to go, personally. Unfortunately, our girl Thunder did not come out victorious. Came out with an awesome entrance, the flames, the music, holding up the women's wrestling sign, all great stuff. Definitely the crowd was behind her, and I'm confused where they want to go with her, because it's like hot and cold, hot potato. Like, this is. So if her losing this match is going to lead to possibly going against Mercedes, I don't know if the Athena stuff is still in the cards, like what they're going to do long term for that, because Mercedes and Athena potentially are going to go toe to toe at Spring Fling. So, man, that Mexican Destroyer was absolutely brutal.
Unreal.
Jumped on, did that counter, then the Destroyer was definitely a huge moment of the match for sure. What did you? Well, and honestly, maybe because I love Stat, I love Thunder, and I want both of them to win. Essentially, I really high on both of them, but maybe because I wanted Thunder and had better hopes for her in this tournament, maybe I wasn't feeling this match because of that. What is your thoughts?
Several things are true. I feel like are true all at once, and it tugs at my heartstrings because the moment I saw that it was going to be Thunder versus Statlander, I think I knew at that point that Stat was going to go over Thunder, and I feel like I don't know what's going on, but it bothers me because Thunder still gets not only a lot of pops, but she gets such a great reaction from the fans, and especially the kids aren't dressing up like Chris Statlander in this game. They're you'll see it. Some of them will be Darby, but some of them will be Orange Cassidy, and then there's Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa, there's kids respond to Thunder Rosa. And you're not just the people that know her as a person, but like just there's and when she comes out to her old school music, it used to mean an ass kicking was coming. And I don't know if there's some kind of I don't know what's going, if there's something backstage or not, but just all I can judge is on the front. Thunder Rosa, she still is a soldier. She'll still put on a spectacular match. She had that long run with Deonna Purrazzo and made Deonna Purrazzo look fantastic.
Right.
She's reinventing things like that Mexican Destroyer. She still does that same thing that I love, where she takes the table and uses it as a ramp to double drop kick.
Oh, so great.
And Thunder going into this match knowing she's not going to win, she still comes out with a smile, and she's in pain. If you watch her vlogs, she's feeling those bumps. She's feeling the effort. So I'm surprised. I would hope that at some that we could build to something. Her being not only she's a Texas girl, but like she was in the whole promo for all y'all in Texas.
Exactly.
I feel like we're missing out on an opportunity. Not and Tony Khan, he's aware of that kind of stuff. That's what you notice. Harley Cameron had that match in Australia. He's very aware of local heroes.
Right.
I would like to see Thunder get some kind of redemption arc here, but having her out in the first round, I almost feel like that. I'm not sure what's going on. The match is great. Again, these are two women that you can put them with anybody and they're going to have a match, even when they try to sandbag. That Thunder will find a way to work around that. And I'm just of course referring to a certain dentist, but I feel like Statlander, of course, always puts on bangers, and I feel like Mercedes Moné started to get in her groove when she had that first match with Statlander.
Mm-hmm.
So I really hope they do something with Thunder. I hope she gets more of a that badass streak in her again. But at this point, I don't even think turning her heel is going to do it. I think that'll really hurt. She needs to come out and be a badass. She needs something. Maybe I'd hate to see her go to Ring of Honor. I think she needs to be in the title picture, but we'll see. I will say this though. Tony Storm on commentary was killing me last night. And not only me, but how many times the three guys had to go on mute. Like she would make comments and then you would just hear like Tony Schiavone quiet for like about 10 minutes. Excalibur and Taz just yucking it up like they used to on Dark. It was great stuff. Tony was fantastic. The line, try this at home. The other thing she said is Megan Bain. I took a pile driver from Megan Bain. I lost 3 inches on my spine, or I lost 3 inches. But then I saw Tony Schiavone and I gained those 3 inches back. I was like, what are you doing, Tony? But Tony is the face of the women's division, and I feel like she's the best thing going. I see Thunder and Statlander. I'm like, these are two of your current pillars that I feel like you're almost not you're sacrificing to. I mean, I love Jamie Hayter. I think she's good, and I'm really excited about the Athena Mercedes match. But I feel like I feel like they could have done something where Athena cost Mercedes her spot in the tournament and given the tournament to these ladies that don't have a storyline going on. There's already a story with Mercedes and Athena. And granted, Mercedes can take a loss to Athena in this tournament and it not really risk the titles. It could set things up. But in fact, let's look just to kind of look at the tournament as it is.
Yeah.
Here you've got that's the men's. Let's go to the ladies tournament. You got Jamie Hayter, Billy Starks this weekend. You've got Harley Cameron, Athena this weekend. I would have rather seen Mercedes. I would have rather seen Mercedes like lose either to Julia Hart or maybe have Mercedes versus Thunder and lose to Thunder and at least get Thunder another advancement in the floor. And maybe I'm biased, but I feel like you've got these veterans and you're almost putting them on a shelf. I almost feel like Thunder Rosa is Woody and Mercedes is Buzz Lightyear, and Andy is like deciding that he's going to put the Woody toy on the shelf and play with Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, like we saw when we first saw this graphic, like the women's, I feel like tournament bracket was very, very, very strong compared to years past. Now the men's bracket, if you go back to the men's bracket, I'm surprised they haven't been doing one per week. Like I feel like you got to at least have one match per show. And Hangman did say that he's going to have his match next week, so we'll find out more about that with the wild card. Very interesting saga with Hangman, both backstage, all throughout, what happened at All In, and last night. Like, I'm very curious of what Nana's going to say or what Swerve's going to say when they get face-to-face once again. This is a long-term storytelling, and it's definitely not stale. This is fresh, and I love it. I really hope I'm really anxious to see who's going to be the wild card. And looking at that men's bracket, like it's got to be Hangman versus Ospreay, like in the finals, in my opinion. Like regardless, because I don't want to see Hangman lose right away, or even lose to Fletcher in any element, even if he gets screwed out by someone.
But then here's the thing: is that who's the wild card, if it's a debut, if it's a new wrestler debuting, you're going to have him lose to Hangman in his debut.
Yeah, I mean it won't hurt you. It's happened before.
Like how so?
People, I feel like debuts have lost and then
in Battle Royals maybe,
but still been strong.
See, I almost feel like imagine if it's like I almost feel like if Hangman's going to advance, that eliminates Josh Alexander.
So you think he's going to lose to whomever the wild card is.
Yeah, unless it's someone like if it's a Jeff Jarrett or something like that. I mean, yeah.
Right.
But like now, interesting thing would be is if it was like a Jack Perry. Because and then Jack Perry, if you find out that he's like he was still with the Elite,
it could be someone from the
or Claudio. There's a number. Claudio would be an interesting entrant because he could still take a loss and be compelling and just be out to hurt Hangman.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure what the plan is with that. A lot of people thinking Jack Perry is the wild card.
Regardless of that, what do you make of the interaction between Nana and Hangman?
I do think it's compelling. I think what's going to happen is, and it could be at that match, it could be whoever the wild card is, Hanger's going to come around, and we got a hint of that. But I think Hanger, it's going to end up being, of course, Hangman's going to come in and save the day. They need to bring his old music back too.
Oh, 100%.
He's going to come out and he's going to be there for Swerve. He's not going to like it. It's going to be like, I hate you, but damn it, I respect you kind of thing,
right.
and then I think it's going to be blood and guts or anarchy in the arena. I think blood and guts. And up until then, I was with you that it's Ops, Swerve and Hanger. But I think now you got maybe that was just so Kenny could fight Okada, but I don't know, man. I think Hanger's going to lose his first bracket, and that's going to further enrage him, and I think a lot of it's going to come down to maybe the Death Riders mess with him or the Elite mess with him, and I could see it being I don't know. It's going to be.
That would make sense if it's anyone from Death Riders or anyone from the Elite.
Yeah.
That way you can keep continuing that storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's go back to, Steven said MJF in the chat. That would be compelling, even though he said he didn't want to be in the tournament because he didn't want to wrestle every single week. But MJF does want to be somewhere. He wants to be with the Hurt Syndicate.
He wants to hurt people.
I thought this was freaking hilarious when he just lined up shoulder to shoulder with.
Yes.
I was cracking up. I'm like, this is so clever. Like, you're just standing there, like, trying to blend in like that. He should have been wearing a tie, though, so they can kind of be a little more uniform. But I felt like I rewatched this, and when him and Bobby were going face-to-face, like, yelling at each other, I almost felt like he was like this little dweeb, annoying little dweeb when Lashley was trying to get the promo off, and like this immature dweeb, like, Bob, you're blind, Bob. Like, and then MJF or not MJF, MVP and Shelton kind of had to slow his roll. Like, I feel like he just got so overtaken with his emotion. He was kind of just acting like immature and ridiculous. And the segment itself, I mean, the context was very great. And I was very intrigued, but the segment itself was not smooth at all. I don't know if they rehearsed it or what, but it was just a lot of things just seemed kind of like on the fly. But the context of itself of giving the thumbs down was great, because I don't want to see MJF in the Hurt Syndicate. Obviously we don't, and we know what our prediction is for that. So now with this turn down, and then they also had a face-to-face backstage, MVP and MJF. A couple things. Like, I still stand by my wish of Wardlow joining the Hurt Syndicate. However, now that FTR has turned heel, maybe we see some old friends reunite and reform the part of the Pinnacle. Because if you listen to Tony Schiavone go on his rant, which I'm sure Tony Schiavone is going to get his ass beat on Collision by FTR because he called him out, even called Dax's kid out. So be ready, Tony. You're going to get a pile driver from them. And
it's a shatter machine.
Yeah, you're much more heat. But he was saying this is the pinnacle of his career, being the worst thing. So he dropped that cue. I feel like you can't look past some of those signs in wrestling.
Yeah.
Then the Pinnacle could potentially, for the time being, while Cope is out of action indefinitely, be going against the Hurt Syndicate. And then you could run it one of two ways. You could have MVP come out and wrestle his former friend MJF, who maybe will give him a low blow or something, because MVP has wrestled in AEW once as a trios with the Hurt Syndicate, and he's wrestled obviously outside AEW recently.
Yep.
Or you do have a new recruit that, like, you know what, we didn't want you. We have this fourth member in mind, and it's Wardlow, and then go against his former foes and friends, ex-Pinnacle members. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's just, I think that's another compelling idea. It's gonna be interesting to see where they're gonna go. The only thing I would say about that is I think FTR's got business with Cope's gonna be out, but I think it's gonna be interesting to see FTR. I don't think they're gonna join with MJF just because I feel like they've kind of been there, done that. They don't trust him either. I think it's FTR is just gonna be the heels that the tag team division really needs. That aren't Death Riders. So I think that's what they need, and I think that they're just going to start going after all these other tag teams. Could be eventually going after the Hurt Syndicate. So I think
they're going to want to go for gold eventually.
Well, here's what's interesting, and this may tie into your idea, is where MVP and MJF last left off. MVP said that they told MJF, you this is business. You've got a client. You got to give them what they want. So what's interesting is I think we're now going to see MJF participating in what he liked to do to other people. MJF is now going to have to jump through hoops. And if you remember, MJF used to always make like Cody and everybody else, like you had to go through these different trials and stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, does a gauntlet. MVP, He's going to have to prove himself. And then I think we're going to go through all of this, and they're finally going to get to the point where they're going to announce their newest member, and it's not going to be MJF. And hopefully it's Wardlow. It could be somebody else, but I think it's going to be. I think this is going to be compelling stuff. So strap yourselves in.
I'm hooked. I love what MJF is getting involved in with this and what the Hurt Syndicate. I'm very curious about that.
Yep. Absolutely. I'd like to talk about one of my favorite match of the night, which actually was a lot of people all upset. Now, again, it makes no sense, but you know what? Funnel cake makes no sense, but it's delicious. It's not good for you, but it tastes so good. And I'm talking about this 400. I think they could even play with the number 562,300.2, explosive 8-man tag. There's just money on the line. You've got 4-on-4, but this is example that sometimes just plug me into some delicious, high calorie, no nutrition, 8-man high fly tag. I mean, if you're watching Speedball Mike Bailey, Mark Chicken Briscoe, Will Mother Effin Ospreay, and my new favorite, Kevin Knight. This dude, high fly. They call him the Jet. This dude can actually participate in a ladder match without ladders. I want to see that.
He is a stud and has had quite the impact so far in AEW. Really, really impressed with him every single week so far. Love that he's getting the spotlight and getting go to shoulder with some really big names in AEW already.
And then look at the left or the right, my other left. Look at the other side of the card. Leo Rush, Action Andretti. You know about those guys, and you got my guy, the Beast Mortos, Frank Mortos, attorney at Raw, and then my favorite heel in AEW right now. I feel like it's because of TV time. He is now the number one heel in AEW.
Oh, for sure.
Ricochet. And just he's got the talent in the ring that we've always known, but he is just really taking the ball and running with this personality, and it's perfect. And that spot there with the we'll get to that spot where he did the flip, they all got out of the way, and then they did the 4-way bald slap.
Oh my gosh.
Chef's kiss.
And it was great. I mean, yes, fantastic. Like when this was announced, I was like, oh gosh, like sometimes I get a little overwhelmed with, or not as excited about these multi-man matches. However, this one, like the whole time, was such a fun match overall, and those are some great shots that you have up there. But Ospreay posted on his Twitter, he's like, whoever did this camera shot deserves a raise, and it was like the one take shot where it's like out of the ring, back and back, and then this one, the Ricochet shot too. He was like, whoever did this should be fired. It was just perfect. He did the front flip out of the ring, landed on his feet, and they all smacked him in the head. And I love the team element and like the brotherhood of the Ospreay team, and they really felt like they're having so much fun. They felt like they were clicking as a team versus obviously the other team who Ricochet unofficially claimed he was the captain of, which didn't really sit too well. But this was definitely, I think I agree with you. This was my match of the night because of all the spots, the fun element to it. And it doesn't, this is what it's great about, like for the live events, like this is a great match for TV. Like it doesn't have to be deep storyline, like, at all. Like, why is this booked? Like on paper, yes, I'm guilty. I was like, why is this match being booked when you have so many other things that happen from Dynasty? However, as it planned out and as it played out, I was like, this is a great match. This is a lot of fun. I loved it.
And I love the you can tell these guys had a lot of fun. Kevin Knight was interviewed recently, I think by Renee, and it was one of those post-match interviews where he talked about he lost to Ospreay, but she asked him about, he's still signed a new contract with New Japan, so he's still going to be doing his New Japan commitments. But when he said, how's it feel to be at AEW, he says he feels like he's home. That's Kevin Knight. He feels like he's home. Now, that's Kevin Knight, Speedball Mike Bailey, which I didn't realize was so tiny compared to everybody else. But he's just been a lot of fun since he started. But you got Will Ospreay and Mark Briscoe are two of the most fun to watch because you can tell they're having fun. Like, and they both respond to the crowd. Ospreay, you can see he's like a little kid living his dream. Mark Briscoe, one of the things I love to see him is when like he'll fall and then like he'll reach his hand, little kid will help him get up and he goes, "Thank you, little man." And he does all this kind of stuff. They're just having a blast. As much of a heel as he is, Ricochet is loving. He's at home. He knows he's having the time of his life. I love that Beast Mortos is getting spots because of his popularity. And they really are developing the crew, despite their choice in jackets. I feel like they're starting to really break away from the Top Flight identity. I'd like to see Top Flight in action more, but I thought this was good for them to see. I love watching Leo Rush. Leo Rush, again, I feel like he works at a different frame rate than the rest of us. But Mark Briscoe had one of the lines of the night when they're all going about what they're going to spend their $400,000 and the Ospreay's going to go to Disney World. They're all talking about this. And then it goes to Mark Briscoe, goes, "Actually, I'm going to diversify my portfolio, but we're still going to go and kick ass."
I do enjoy his promos every single week. He is definitely one of a kind, that's for sure, and really enjoy what he brings to the table. Very funny stuff on that. The flip side of it is Jericho. He's not an angry man. He's not an angry guy. TV time with Chris Jericho, like very bipolar promo from him, obviously purposeful, but the anger spell, whatever happens moving on, Jericho is always 5 steps ahead of everyone else. So like he knows exactly what he's doing. I mean, the learning tree gimmick stuff, like we didn't know if it hit, and look how well it hit. It's going to create 2 studs with Brian Keith and Big Bill. Like they're already on the rise. I mean, the Redwood is so over and has been for months. I'm just waiting for that turn. I like the chemistry with Brian Keith and Big Bill, and I want them to continue to grow as a team. But man, I do think Big Bill is a stud. I think he's a star. I think as soon as he can break away from the Jericho vortex and Jericho puts him over, I think that's just going to continue to catapult him. But you hear the reactions that Big Bill gets. I mean, he's put in the work. He's looks like $1 million. He can talk the talk, walk the walk, and when he's in the ring, like he commands the ring, and it's just so fun to watch Big Bill work.
It is, and I do think that it was an interesting take. Obviously the Fozzy tour and whatnot. Sure, there's some Wednesday nights Jericho can pop in, but I think he's going to focus. I think some time away is going to help Jericho. Plus, I think he's given Big Bill and Brian Keith enough to get over. I don't know if you saw the tweet, but Brian Danielson tweeted that his son's favorite wrestler is Brian Keith.
I saw that.
So I thought that was really interesting that was pointed out. And Brian Keith is great. I mean, he's a great wrestler. So I think that this is going to be compelling to see where this goes from. I've always been a Y2J fan. I know a lot of people can't wait for him to be gone. They have their reasons. That's fine. But Jericho always has a way of reinventing himself. And sure, some of the vortex maybe there might be some truth to some of that. I know Mike Santana was a little frustrated with some things, but it is what it is. And I think some absence will really help when Jericho comes back. I think it'll be at the right time, and it'll be a good new thing. But yeah, it's like stay off camera.
No, Jericho's too good. I mean, his match went long too, and his story, like I'm a big Jericho fan, so I think he can do no wrong, and I love his gimmicks and all this stuff. And he's still, especially after that one interaction with that kid a few weeks ago, that just popped me as well. Like that was so funny.
Go to bed, little kid.
You're grounded.
You're grounded, little kid.
Our top performers of the night, and so I was gonna pick maybe the one that you have, but we have total kind of polar opposite top performers of the night for us. I kind of hinted at it a little bit, but Moxley was mine, which he hasn't been mine at all in a long time. I think the biggest thing is, even though I'm a babyface and Briscoe would be more up jerk or SPD's alley than Myndrunners, as I touched on earlier in the show, like commanding the episode, commanding the show from start to finish. Moxley did that from the promo to the match to getting involved at the end and all this stuff, like calling out the Young Bucks. So like, I think just overall commandment of the show and start to finish being part of it really kind of made him stand out to me last night for my top performer.
I hear you, and I completely understand. For me, I think my criteria was just overall who I felt like just really stood out to me and just really I could tell was integral to the show. And I think Mark Briscoe's enthusiasm is just it's contagious.
For sure.
He even kind of overshadowed Ospreay's enthusiasm a little bit. Usually Ospreay's the knucklehead getting all excited, but I do like even Ospreay's entrance. It was his music, but he had everybody participating in the Ospreay. He had everybody doing it. Mark Briscoe is always fun to watch in any match that he's in, and we always wait for the chick. Deb's favorite thing is that when he starts doing the redneck kung fu, and it's we're always waiting for that. I think Mark Briscoe's he does more for wrestling than people realize. I think just because of his presence, his I think he comes across as positive. He's having fun, Right. I mean, he misses his brother, but he's doing what he loves, and I think that he's going to continue to be a part of this family. He's if I was a new wrestler, he would be one of the ones I would go to for help, advice, and somebody that I would want in my corner. And so that's why I chose Mark Briscoe for this past night. Reach for the skies, boys.
He's been some of our top performers very frequently lately, and I love that he's on Team SPD, and he's been top performer even when he hasn't won the match. So Collision this Saturday, which is live, is going to feature matches. We don't have the full graphic, but we have the Owen Hart Cup tournament match between Jamie Hayter and Billy Starks. We have Anthony Bowens versus Blake Christensen. Of course, we also have the other match, Athena versus Harley. Any match that's sticking out to you right now that you're really excited about?
Are they doing Brody versus Takeshita?
Brody versus Takeshita as well.
Yep. That's going to be great. Of course, Harley Cameron.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see, is Mercedes going to get involved, both the puppet and the real Mercedes involved with Athena? I think Brody King versus Takeshita. I don't see Brody King getting the W, even though the Hounds of Hell need to get some W's here. I think it'd be compelling if he did beat Takeshita.
I don't know if he's won a tournament match in a long time.
It would be compelling to see Brody King advance, but they're setting up Takeshita versus Will Ospreay. Yeah, and then
is the money match for sure.
Yeah, I as far as my prediction for the women's bracket, I actually think it's going to be Athena versus Jamie Hayter. I think that's what they're setting up. I think they even foreshadowed that last Collision where Athena came out. I think that's going to be the compelling match. But I'm excited. Collision always delivers. If in some way Tony Storm can be on commentary, though, that would just make it. That would take that Tony Storm gives any match an extra star with her on commentary, I think.
Right.
And it's just going to be really interesting because between now and Double or Nothing, and then after that, it's basically the road to All In, and that's what's going to be very compelling from here on out.
Now, if you don't already know, the announcement that Myndrunner, FTD, and SPD and Brents are going down to Texas to All In July, which we can't wait for. Now, not to put you too much on the spot, but like right off the cuff, like if you could predict or fantasy book what you'd want to see. Let's just name me 3 matches you'd want to see. At all. Like what would 3 matches you could foresee happening that you'd want to see? And
Tony
even
Storm
that,
versus
like,
Thunder.
All-in matches that you think is going to happen.
Okay, Tony Storm versus Thunder Rosa for the championship, and
Tony versus Thunder.
Tony versus Thunder.
How?
Yep. Because she'll get the title. She's going to earn the title shot. Everything else is going to play out through Double or Nothing, but then Thunder's going to get her title shot. She's going to work her way, and this one's not going to be necessarily a heel versus face thing. I think it's going to be Thunder be at her most, dominant. She's going to go on a streak. She's going to have the fire, and then she's going to show up in Texas, and they're going to play Thunderstruck. And it's going to be, and it doesn't matter who wins because we all win with that one. Right. I think it'll probably happen at Double or Nothing, but I was thinking Athena versus Mercedes for the title. Who knows? I would like to see, it'd be cool to see FTR versus Hurt Syndicate for the titles. I'd like to see, but I think it's going to be, it could be Ospreay and Swerve by the time we get to All In. Ospreay versus Swerve for the titles, because we got a whole other, we got Dynamite, we got Double or Nothing to go before we get to that.
I know. That's why it's like I'm just fantasy booking because it's like so hard to predict.
I think the Death Riders are going to, I think the Death Riders is going to be done by All In, or at least the remnants of them. That whole storyline is going to be over because I think All In is going to be much more geared to hyping up individual matches. So, well, and maybe the Ops are going to be defending against another trio of some kind.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe they'll be defending against the Adam Cole trio. And he'll lose he won't have the belt. So I feel like, obviously, I still stand by, like a lot of you in the chat, the Ospreay dethroning Moxley, because I feel like you have to have almost like, I don't want to say Captain America, but like Mr. AEW have it ending on a high note. Like, we got to have confetti at All In. Like, this is the show of the year, and so you have to end. We've had pay-per-view after pay-per-view. There we go. There's that confetti. I would love to see Hangman at Mox All In or Ospreay versus Mox All In. Whomever, we're gonna have to have confetti at All In and end on a high note because it's going to be incredible. We've had, as I said, the Death Riders end pay-per-view after pay-per-view after pay-per-view on sour notes. We need to have some kind of ultimate payoff. Another sour note should happen at Double or Nothing, where the Death Riders come out on top in some form. You said FTR versus who did you say against? Oh, Hurt Syndicate. FTR versus Edge and Christian.
Ah, there you go. That's better.
Christian,
he'll be back by then.
Yeah, Open Christian at All In. That would be an insane show there. Mercedes, I want to see her. I would like to see Mercedes versus Thunder, honestly, for maybe the TBS title. If they're not going to revisit the Athena stuff with Mercedes and Athena, like if that's just going to be kind of a temporary feud leading into Double or Nothing, I would like to see that. As well as the Young Bucks versus Hangman and Swerve. I do want to see that tag team. The tag team we never thought would happen. Like those are 2 heavy tag team matches I want to see. Obviously, in Kenny versus Okada. All those matches sound really great to me, man. I'm excited.
I have a question for you, because you said something earlier that popped into my mind, and now I'm thinking, in your opinion, because you mentioned like a Captain America, who is Mr. AEW at this point? Who bleeds AEW?
Or just overall MVP?
Well, just who is who is the Captain America equivalent for AEW right now? Not who used to be, but like right now in storyline.
If you have to guess right now, it's Ospreay.
Okay.
Who do you think?
I think there's a case. I was gonna make an argument for Swerve.
Yeah, I could say Swerve too, but you got Swerve's so over, but I'm thinking Captain America, cheesy with the crowd and the high fives and things like that. So the over the top excitement to me is that. Now Swerve might, I don't know who's more over, Swerve or Ospreay. That's up for debate as well. If Darby was around, that could be another one of those three guys would definitely be contention for Captain America. Hanger is getting close there. He's getting very close. Yep. He's over, but he's not showing that true babyface love and all that. But either way, you talk about Hangman, you talk Swerve. Kenny Omega is not back to Captain America yet, but he still has time to be back there. Kenny, Swerve, Ospreay, Darby, Hangman, all these baby faces could definitely be the guy of AEW.
And you just said Team AEW for Blood and Guts right there.
That's too much star power for that. But all right, man, we're gonna ride off to the sunset with our All In video that I love so much at getting us pumped up. You know what? Hold on a second. Before we do that, I gotta see. I don't have it saved, but I'm gonna do it right now. 93 days to All In.
93.
Almost 3 months away, folks.
Well, we're gonna, and instead of our usual exit, we're gonna ride off into the sunset, y'all, and we'll see you down the line.
Thanks, everyone.
I'm your huckleberry.